So much of what you talk about really boils down to authenticity.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for us to really find that authenticity in life?
I think because we grew up comparing ourselves to everybody. And you just think that someone's going to be judging you or laughing at you.
Jen Fort is the life of the party. She's fun, she's funny, and she's relentlessly outgoing. But in addition, she's observant and wise. Her book series, 365 Days of Wisdom, is terrific. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about her book, The Badass Woman. Jen, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Absolutely, Pat. Thanks for having me. I'd love to share my story with you because I think it'll resonate with so many people. So my story, I'll start back in when I was in my 20s. I became a single mom with a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old.
Hmm.
And I was in the start of my career, climbing the corporate ladder, supporting my family. And when you're in that situation, you do a lot of things wrong. But I also did a lot of very creative things to support my family. I was super, super resourceful. And that was kind of a theme through my life of supporting the family, being resourceful, climbing the ladder, job after job, so I could support the family. And where things kind of took a turn, I was working for a security center or a security company in a command center and super high stressful job. My kids were in school, they were doing well, but I was still climbing that ladder because I had 2 kids going to college. And
Hmm.
when you're in a career for so long and you feel like you have to do things, you kind of lose sight of who you are. But I had this very intense October a couple years ago where in our department we had 3 of us managers, and both of my peer managers passed from heart attack within 3 weeks of each other.
Wow.
And one was she had given her notice to retire and she hadn't stopped working yet, and she just went to sleep and didn't wake up the next morning. But she was working like 14, 15-hour days, which was kind of par for the course in our company. And the other gentleman, just sweet as anything, loved him to death, and he just passed within 3 weeks. And that's kind of a slap in the face of, oh my gosh, we're all in the same environment, same stress.
Yeah.
This is not where I should be. But when you've been somewhere for close to, at that point, 15, 16 years, you're kind of comfortable. You've got the vacation, you've got the salary, you know what you're doing, you got the lay of the land. So what I did, and I think what a lot of people do, is you hesitate to make the step that you need to. And what I ended up doing was I went to a department to get away from the stress where I should have really looked for a new job. And 2 years later, the universe forced me out through a reorganization. I ended up getting laid off. And it was absolutely a blessing. I mean, the when you get the word, today's your last day, you have that, oh my gosh, this is happening. But then I got home and I was like, I don't have to keep my phone next to my bed. I'm not going to expect the 2 a.m. panicked phone calls from my 24/7 team. I'm not going to come back from vacation with 3,000 emails, which was par for the course.
Yeah,
So
really.
what I did was I unplugged for a couple of months, and I had to thank my husband. He said, just pause, do what you need to do, decompress. And I did that. And I kind of did a lot of self-reflection of, okay, I did that job because I had to. What were the pieces I loved from it? What are the things that I do really well? And what am I not going to tolerate anymore? I'm not going to tolerate high stress. I'm not going to tolerate 14-hour days. I'm not going to tolerate 2 a.m. phone calls. So I kind of got back to, I put up some boundaries, some pretty massive boundaries, and I decided to try something different. So I went from being the director of a command center to a year later, I became a career coach. And I started coaching people through the same type of layoff transition that I went through. And while the company that I worked for, they normally hire recruiters or HR executives. You know, the secret sauce I bring to the table is human connection. Been
Mhm.
there, done that. And so while I'm doing that, I also have this beautiful passion project of learning from others. I mean, I made a ton of mistakes in my life. Other people have. I love learning from what you've done right, what you've done wrong. What are your secret hacks, tips, and tricks? And I had amassed this library of wisdom. And at that point, I had about 8,000 bits in the library, and they're all kind of siloed into different life milestones. And I thought, I need to share this because I think it's a passion when you keep it to yourself, but it's a purpose when you share it with others. And I always knew that there was something bigger with this project of mine. So I started putting them into books. And within 9 months, I have self-published 4 books in the Wisdom and Warnings book series. And it's bringing this creativity into my life that I knew I needed to share it. And I'm just having a blast, encouraging people in their career paths and sharing the wisdom I've learned over the years.
That's great. I'll tell you, for a lot of people, making that kind of shift in terms of their career, it's a major identity crisis. How much of that did you experience, and how did you deal with it?
I did a total 180, and I think I gave myself the grace to have a couple of months
Mhm.
to decompress and disconnect and do a lot of soul searching. And there's some folks that miss that step. And I would encourage anybody that is in that type of a transition to take that pause and get outside your house, go somewhere different where it's a new environment, and just really ask yourself some questions about, what lights you on fire? What are you super good at? Because a lot of times those things they're not obvious. And then, decide from there what fits you. And this is something I tell to all my career candidates. Like, when you're looking for that next job, get clear on who you are, what you're good at, what you love, and then find that job that fits you versus you shoehorning yourself into something you think you should do or you're obligated to do.
Easier said than done sometimes, though, when you need a paycheck.
Yeah. Well, that can just be the next right step as well. So
That's a good way of looking
sometimes
at it.
I was just having that conversation this morning with someone. She actually accepted a job that she's not thrilled with. She doesn't think it's the right thing. So we just came up with a plan of what is the intention for that job? Because where do you want to be next? And what can you learn from this job while you're doing it to the best of your ability, knowing that it's not the end all. It's just the next right step to get you to where you want to be.
I think in doing it to the best of your ability is really important because whatever we do, whatever skills we gain through doing, through experiencing, we own them forever.
Mm.
It's not superficial. So even when you find yourself in a less than terrific situation, you will walk away from something that will benefit you if you if you do a good job with it.
Right. And if you don't, you might be in the middle of a career transition again. Let's
I'll tell
not
you,
do that.
getting out of your comfort zone is so hard for most people. What can you do to ease yourself out of your comfort zone, not just with a job transition, but personally, I think you live life outside your comfort zone. That's where life gets really lived and created and where things happen. But most people don't want to go there.
No, they don't. So some of that little, I'm constantly playing with myself in little scenarios and doing things differently. And you can start out small with, if you're an introvert, talk to the person who's pumping gas next to you. Something small. Comment on their scarf. Oh my God, I love that scarf. That's an amazing color. It looks great on you. And crack the seal, those little teeny tiny interactions. And then you can grow on it. You can do a little bit more, a little bit more. Or go to, if you're in your comfort zone, just take one small step. Or bring a wingman. Bring somebody who's just as scared as you are and do it together, because you can lean on each other. Not necessarily take someone who's been there, done that, because a lot of times you might feel a little intimidated because you're comparing yourself. But if you go with someone that's at the same level, you're helping each other overcome something. And then it can become almost a project for the both of you. while you're doing it to get out of your comfort zone, you actually realize you're helping somebody else. And doesn't it always feel good when you're giving?
And I think there's so many dumb little things you can do. Drive a different way. Eat something different. Read a book you might not have otherwise read. I think baby steps add up. And along the way, just like we were talking about maintaining or developing skills in a job, you develop social skills getting out of your comfort zone that will serve you really well too.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where talking to other people, going to different restaurants, going to, if you're in a university town, I live here in near Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's a cute little college town. And even just walking through campus and talking to people, striking up conversations, just sitting in the quad listening to people and listening to conversations. It's getting out of your comfort zone can also mean just a change of environment. And that just keeps you from shrinking back into your normal habits and routines. So those little day trips, you go
I
to,
think changing your environment actually is really important, even if it's a temporary change. And
Mhm,
I think the reason why changing environment and travel works so well for so many people is that it forces you to be incredibly present
mhm.
in a way that you're often not present in your day-to-day life. And that alone just shifts everything.
It does. It does. And and when you go to on vacation or you travel somewhere where you don't speak the native language,
Mhm.
doesn't that just ramp that up? Because you are so much more intentional and you have to pay attention and you have to work a little bit harder at communicating. It can be we were in Peru a couple years ago for our honeymoon, and while most people did speak English, I felt a was it more intense interactions when the people didn't speak. We went to this one restaurant to have a local delicacy, guinea pig, for dinner. And it was a very authentic restaurant, little hole in the wall, nobody spoke English. And it was that experience stuck with me so much more the time because we were more present because we kind of had to work at it. So it was just that whole environmental thing can come at so many different levels.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what forces us to be present, you know? I think art forces us to be present. Being physical, outdoors, playing a sport or a game forces us to be present. But how do we force
Mhm.
ourselves to be more present in our day-to-day lives?
Brush your teeth with your left hand.
That'll do it. Try eating with your left hand.
Yeah,
Alone,
it
preferably
goes back
alone.
to those it goes back to those little minor differences, minor changes. Go for a walk around the block the opposite direction. Or, get up on the difference. You and your husband or significant other sleep on each other's side of the bed. That's a big one. Or just those little tiny things that you do every single day that are habit. Like for 1 week, think about them. Think about, what do I do first? What do I do second? What order do I do things in the shower? Well, let's change it up. Let's wash the body first and then wash the hair. Or, shave the left leg before you shave the right leg. Just those little tiny changes kind of shock you out of that routine.
Yeah, and I think learning to be present is something you can cultivate. It isn't something that comes easily or inherently because we
Mhm,
all get wrapped up in our routines. But I think
mhm,
that if you can start cultivating it for small moments or small periods of time, you can start to cultivate it for longer periods of time. And then it becomes meaningful because when we're on our rote responses, we're
mhm.
not really living our lives. And when we look back on them, we don't remember those moments. But if
Right.
we're present, we remember the moment, and it gives our life that wonderful three-dimensional, this is real quality that isn't there when we don't pay attention.
Yeah. I had a couple of weeks ago, I went for a walk and I stopped because it was just early morning. The birds were waking up, and I sat at this picnic table in the park and I just closed my eyes for like 5 minutes and just listened to what was going on around me. And I could hear the birds, and then I could hear a car drive up, and it was just kind of engaging your different senses.
Hmm.
And I thought, that was a much different experience. And I just enjoyed that morning so much more because, yeah, you hear the birds, but when you close your eyes, you can hear like there were five different birds that were around. And, it's just, you get so used to plowing ahead. I gotta get my 10,000 steps in before noon. I gotta walk, 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 walk. But, you know, I got more out of that walk. And I also, I pick up trash when I go for a walk in the morning. And it's just because I walked and I realized one day when I started paying attention, like how much stuff there was on the side of the road. So I just grabbed a bag the next time and just on every walk, I just kind of pick up trash. And now even driving down the road, it just makes such a difference. It's like, wow, it's really nice, pretty road now. And those little things, like I don't think I realized how messy it was.
Yeah.
And then when I keyed into it, it was like, you know what? I'm going to walk anyway. Let me leave it a little bit better. And I've had people stop me on my walk and thank me for picking that up. And it was like it makes not just my life a little better, but everybody else that drives down the road.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't it a shame we have to do that? I used to live up at Lake Tahoe, and there was this one beach, my favorite beach. You could only get to it by hiking down to it or boating over to it.
Oh wow.
And during the summer, Tahoe's really, popular with the San Francisco crowd, particularly. And during the summer, I stopped going to that beach, even though it was my favorite spot, because people would come in with loud music. They would leave wine bottles and garbage all over the beach. And I'm just kind of like, mm, you're out in this magnificent
Yeah.
environment. How can you leave, how can you leave it less well than it was before you showed up? So I really applaud what you're doing with picking up the trash. I did the same thing on the beach.
Yeah, right.
But
I always have bags with me. A bag
you
lady.
have a dog?
I do not. Not now.
I want to pull some of the quotes from your book because some of them are just so good. You really have a gift for this. Um, oh, this is a good one. A badass. This is from The Badass Woman. Okay.
Mhm.
A badass stays calm when others freak out.
Oh,
Why?
yeah. And isn't that terrifying sometimes when you see that one person in the crowd when everyone else is freaking out and they're just like, something's going to happen. Like she's got her stuff together. Yeah, love it. Love it.
That's when I learned, though, a long time ago when I was flying. I was solo up in an airplane with no engine, often in mountainous environments. And if anything was going wrong, it was up to me to figure it out and fix it. And I'm just one of those people, when things fall apart, I get really cool and I just see what's going on. I don't know where it comes from, but it's something that I've certainly cultivated over the years. And I don't get the freaking out.
Yeah, everybody needs a friend like you. I usually, if I have my moment, it's usually after the fact. It's like I can stay calm in the moment, and once everything is situated, I'll go have my moment somewhere else.
Yeah, I'll react afterwards. In the
Yeah,
midst of chaos, I'm okay. Afterwards, it hits me.
yeah,
Or afterwards, I let the emotion out.
right, right.
Always be yourself. I love this one.
Unapologetically. I am so much for so many people. I'm a little too extra for a lot of people because I'm extremely adventurous. I'm always doing things people are afraid of, and I am loud. And you know what? I used to shrink away from that, but I've come to embrace it. I'm like, this is who I am. I can't hide it. I really, if you don't like it, that's on you. I'm not sorry, but that's on you.
Well, everyone won't like everybody. That's just the way it
Right.
is. And sometimes we're
Exactly.
attracted to opposites.
Mhm.
Now, this one I totally agree with. You'll regret the chances you didn't take more than the mistakes you made.
And that's what wisdom and warnings is all about. It's like, what are the mistakes you made and what did you learn from them? Yeah. Don't they always say every time you see one of those articles or a list, you know, I talk to people on their deathbed, and here's the one thing that they
Yes.
all say that they regret the shots they didn't take. And I I always say that if I try something, it's usually the first time I do something, I always title it ugly but effective because
Looks
it's
aren't
not going to be
everything.
perfect. It's going to be messy.
What's one of the messier things you've done?
Oh my gosh. I have a habit of signing up for things before I think about it. So about this memory just popped up on my
I'm
social
laughing
media.
with you, not at you.
3 years ago, I saw this ad for the women's triathlon in Philly, and I thought, oh, I should do that. So I signed up. And then I thought, okay, I should train for this at least a little bit. And I got to the pool at the gym, and I quickly realized I really don't know how to swim. I can survival swim, but I can't technical swim at all. And
Hmm.
I could not find anyone to teach me how to swim in 2 weeks. Because, of course, I didn't start training till 2 weeks before. And I ended up doing the breaststroke the entire time. Everyone else is in their outfits and their goggles and they look all professional. And here comes Jen. Doop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And I was one of the last ones out of the pool. I was going in to get my bike when other people were finished the entire triathlon. I was like, oh, okay. And I did the bike. It was slow and it was not pretty, but I walked that bike up the hill. I got off and walked it. And then the run, yeah, I don't run, I plod, and it was slow, but I made it across the finish line. So it took quite a lot longer, but I get to check that off the box, don't have to do it again.
Yep. No, I didn't get roped into it. I agreed to do this. I signed up for a biathlon, and this is
Okay.
just for fun. It's for a charity thing where you kayak across a lake and back, and then you run 2 miles. Now, I don't run at all. I walk, and I will
Yeah.
walk, but I do not run. The kayaking will be interesting. We're going to see if we can get a two-person kayak, just because it'll be slower and more ridiculous than just one person doing it.
So is that coming up in the future?
Yeah, I think it's in August.
Oh, fun.
I think it will be fun. We're both 60 some odd year old women, and we're like, let's just do this and have a blast at it. We both just
Do
like to
it.
be outdoors, and neither of us is an athlete. So I think it'll
Yeah.
be just a hoot.
Oh, exciting. I can't. I hope you post pictures. I would love to see.
I have never gotten into the selfie picture routine.
You don't have a cheering squad?
We don't have a cheering squad. We need to get one. You're right.
You have a few weeks.
Yeah,
My
we
son, my son just did a half Ironman, and there was probably six of us went down to cheer him on, and we had so much fun. And at one point where we see him coming up to the corner, and I just got a whole crew of like 100 people that were watching. I just had them all start yelling his name. And they are just yelling his name, Stephen Walsh, Stephen Walsh. And someone says, wow, who is that guy? He has a really big fan club.
I hadn't even thought of that, and I will do that.
I
That would
think you
really
need a
be even
fan
more
club.
fun. Yeah, I'd import you, but you're on the other side of the country.
That's true. That's true. I would be right there leading the charge.
Oh, this one is near and dear to my heart. A badass isn't afraid to stand alone.
Ooh, absolutely. Yeah, never follow the crowd because they're usually wrong. And your crazy ideas, they're yours. And there have been so many times where I've done things and people are just shaking their head at me. The triathlon was a perfect example. On my bucket list is to be a mascot. One day, I want to be a mascot for something. And we make friends everywhere. We made friends with a gentleman with one of the triathlon clubs and started chatting to him. And I mentioned I wanted to be a mascot for one day. And he's like, they have a unicorn mascot costume. Would I like to put it on? I'm like, oh, yes, of course. And I put that on, and like 5 minutes later, here comes my son up on his bike. He had no idea it was me, but when he came around in the run, my husband's screaming, your mother's a unicorn. And he fought the last second. It's like, that's my mom.
So much of what you talk about really boils down to authenticity.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for us to really find that authenticity in life?
I think because we grew up comparing ourselves to everybody. And you just think that someone's going to be judging you. or laughing at you. And
Oh, they are.
yeah, they are.
Get over
Absolutely.
it.
I'm okay with that. But I've shed that. I shed that so long ago that I just go and do. And because it goes back to that regret thing, how I regret not seeing Elton John when I was 17 years old because no one wanted to go with me. And I regret that to the
Oh.
day. So, but you just have to have a go. Just have a go. It may be ugly, but effective, but have a go.
Oh, this one's good. You weren't built to be controlled.
Oh, you are not a remote. You are not to be controlled. And if you've ever been in a controlling relationship, you know exactly where that comes from, which was long ago. And sometimes you bend the will of other people and you lose who you are. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes something serious or, a very intense decision to get out of that. And then you realize, oh my gosh, it feels so much lighter. Yeah, and it's just usually those situations usually start so small. And again, you do it because you don't want the confrontation. And I think that in today's environment, especially with the texting and emails, everybody hides behind electronics.
Yeah.
We're losing the ability, or we're losing the to have those tough conversations and to not agree and be okay with it. So when you don't want to have those conversations, you start shrinking back, you're quiet, and you just go with the flow. And then it snowballs that it's even harder to change after a while.
No, I think that's true. And I think your point about social media is well taken. It has there are so many benefits to it, but part of it is you have to be able to disconnect and
Mhm.
real life. There's a great story. Sherry Turkle uh, was or is a professor at MIT, and for years she studied social media and how kids interacted with social media and the impact it had on them. And one day she's giving a lecture on this and from front of some community group or something. And everybody applauds when it's done, great lecture. And this young man comes up to her and he says, I would like to learn how to have a conversation. And he pauses and he goes, but not today. Doesn't that just blow you away?
I hope she held him to it. I hope she made him have that conversation. I hope he learned.
I would hope so, but I would guess that given the environment, it would be a pretty tough thing to do. Somebody anonymously comes out of a crowd. But
Yeah.
boy, the thought that people don't know how to have conversations anymore.
Yeah. And small talk. I always, it's interesting to me. So many people label themselves as introverts. And I find that, but then I watch body language and I'm like, they're really not, I wouldn't classify that person as an introvert. I just classify that person as not really knowing how to start a conversation, which is two different things. It's just you
Yeah.
don't know how to crack the seal versus having anxiety of being in situations. And the perfect thing is it's ask questions, be curious, give a compliment,
You know,
open so many doors.
man,
So simple.
you are speaking out of my book. One of the things I tell people all the time is just be honest about it, but give a compliment. You can find something you like about somebody, their shoes, their earrings, something they say, but give an honest compliment. It goes so
Yeah.
far in terms of reaching out to somebody.
Hmm. Ask a question.
Oh,
Even again at the gas pumps, that's a great place to start. How long have you had your Bronco? I've been looking at them. How do you like it? People love to talk about themselves and things that they have and do.
oh,
Ask a
absolutely.
question. Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, and I think when it comes to introvert, extrovert, though, I define it a little differently. I define introvert as somebody who recharges solo, alone, maybe in nature, in peace and quiet and meditation, whatever, whereas an extrovert recharges with the energy of people around them. So, for example, I'm an introvert given that definition, but in reality, I'm really in the middle of the scale in terms of how I move through the world.
Yeah. Interesting. I will have to think about that one because I'm thinking, all right, I classify myself as an extrovert. I don't know if I do I get energy from being around people? It definitely did. I don't know. Boy, that's a point to ponder.
Think about that one.
I
Yeah.
will. I
I
will
thought
check in
that.
with you and let you know what I thought. It'll take a little while.
Oh, this is another great one. Other people's negativity is not your problem.
Oh, you just gotta let that bounce off. Oh my goodness. I went through this course a couple of probably it was before I got laid off when I was burned out and I took this course and they gave this beautiful analogy of, you've got your little energy bubble and you've got other people that have their energy bubble. And when someone's being super negative, like in your mind, actually visualize all that negativity kind of bumping off your bubble. And I even remember drawing pictures of it in the notebook with my notes. And I was like, that's a really interesting way to think about it because I know I've got this very energetic aura. Like I am a lot for a lot of people. And when people absorb that, it can be intense, especially for introverted people. And negativity just pulls me down. And when I had that in my head, that visual, it really allowed me to stay very disconnected from what they were putting out, not exactly who they were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do is I think you can sense energy from people. And
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
once you start picking up in those little negative tones, those little negative comments, oh boy, the old saying, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another piece of wisdom that I personally take to heart because when I start seeing those little negative things, they may be small, but they're indicative of an approach to life.
Oh yeah.
Life is hard. I can't participate. I'm too old, or whatever it is. Why in the world would you limit yourself that way?
Right, right. In the upcoming Wisdom and Warnings book, the one called Happily Ever After about relationships and marriage, in the engagement couple chapters, there's one bit of wisdom about observing how people treat old people, dogs, and breakfast waitresses.
Hmm.
Like if you observe how they treat those three types of people, that tells you a lot. Really does if you just observe.
I think observation is greatly underrated.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so on observation, I'm going to bring this all the way around just because
Here we go.
here's another one. Do no harm, take no shit.
Yeah.
However,
Yep.
I might extend that to say, do no harm, ignore them.
I like that. I like that.
Let them rant and rave about whatever it is that is on their negative little mind, and
Hmm.
don't engage. Just let them go and
Yeah.
walk away.
Yeah. Just let it flow. I love my movie references. I'm just like, be frozen and let it go. Just be frozen. Just let it roll off your back.
If you could give people three bits of wisdom, because there's wisdom throughout this book, it's really a terrific book.
Oh,
But if you could give them three bits of wisdom, what would you say?
well, I would say that no matter where you are in life, who you are, your education, your background, you are super smart. You've got wisdom within. Trust yourself and share it. I would also say, I love this saying, and I've had it on my wall for 30 years now. It says, life turns out the best for people who make the best of the way things turn out. Think about that. That is absolutely fantastic. And the other one is just be authentic, be yourself. And it doesn't matter what other people think or say. Like, just be true to yourself.